Sorry about that, folks. Don't know why my recorder stopped recording at the 10-minute mark. Didn't miss too much, but to finish that discussion on the extra inning games and the ink, the team with the worst extra inning record was Kansas City. I'm trying to find out where their line is at here, where I saw that. Yeah, they were only 6-13 with the extra inning games. One-run games is 29-16 for St. Paul, and the Whalers 15-31 for one-run games. You guys got to get us closer. Yeah. Twice as many losses as wins. Not closing the games. This is a pretty interesting statistic I saw down at the bottom of the recap. The home record was only 490, a 490 record, and the record on the road was 510. That doesn't happen very often, and I think that means that you guys are finally figuring out how to do CMs real good, or how. They did say, I think it was 2001, excuse me, the 2000 series, season, that Stratomatic announced that they would improve HAL. And based on that, a 10% difference or a 20% difference in roads and wins, it looks like it might be working. So you got to play smarter than the computer. Okay, we know St. Paul at this point, and Conturacy Saints are in the league championship. Statistically, the Saints got a powerhouse offense. Statistically, the Express have a powerhouse pitching team. Between the Saints and the Express, it looks like they've shared just about all of the league records. The Saints led the league in batting average with .294. They scored 1,165 runs. The next closest was Sunnydale at 940. Hits at 1,685. 386 doubles. I think they broke a league record with that. The next closest was 352 with Los Angeles. Home runs, 350 home runs, leading the league. RBIs, 1,117. If you go down to St. Paul for pitching, they had the best pitching record. Now, this is in the Babe Ruth League. Oh, no, this is overall. Excuse me, this is overall. A 3.10 ERA. Excuse me, 3.70 ERA. I need to get my glasses back on. They gave up the fewest hits in the league with 1,301. Allowed the fewest runners to score, 662. And it looks like, obviously, the fewest earned runs was 608. They struck out a league best 1,390 times, and their opponent batting average is at 233. Still pretty high for a first place team at 233, but they weren't too far behind scoring runs. They scored 938. They were one of the few in the 900 areas. St. Paul did lead the league with 43 triples. LA had 210 stolen bases. And the team with the fewest errors, Tacoma. Normally Hawaii takes that every season, but Roberto's getting a little older, Vizquel's a little older. Tacoma Saints had 73 errors. Hawaii was right behind them with 80. The Russell Rowdies, and I think this is wrong. I'm going to go back and count. I gave up the fewest home runs, 161. I don't think that's right. I got to go back and look, and double check. Florida, now Florida, they did some good things. Where's Sammy Sosa at? Okay, Sammy Sosa's on another page, but Florida gave up 302 home runs compared to the 161 by Russell. They also had the worst ERA this season, 6.64. Now I know Florida moved to a DH team, to a DH conference, and that makes it a little tougher to keep the ball in the park. But we'll see. It's a long season next year. A lot of rebuilding going on. If you've seen Florida's cuts recently, looks like half the guys are gone, so they're rebuilding. Yeah, their opponent batting average is a 301. So what have I missed? Okay, so that's it for the league leaders for the basic stats. And the secondary stats, again, offense, the Saints 375 on base percentage, a 554 slugging percentage, 728 walks they drew. The next closest one was River City with 612 walks. The Aardvarks put down 119 bunts. You know, how around that team at home and on the road. The Saints only had 9 bunts all season. The fewest walks was Kansas City, 386, which equated to their fewest on-base percentage at 299. 299 is not too far from the all-time low of 282 by the Russell Rowdies. I remember that. We had a 282 on-base percentage one season. Because they didn't have a lot of runners, they didn't get into a lot of double plays. The Monarchs only had 99 walks, double plays, grounded into 99 double plays. Sunnydale, who had an impressive season, did hit into 164 double plays. That sounds like the old Russell team. On the pitching side of it, the Aardvarks did pretty decent. They had 32 complete games, 14 shutouts. They did do 75 intentional walks. I don't know why that was so high. The fewest was Tacoma. Tacoma Saints only gave up 3. But the Aardvarks also only had 25 wild pitches. Interesting stats there. They didn't have a lot of power. They had the fewest home runs at home and at road. The Aardvarks talking about 64 and 61 respectively. The Saints, they're a homer team, a homer team with 199 home runs at home, but just as deadly on the road with 151. Hawaii, fielding now, even though they committed some of the fewer errors, their overall fielding percentage was at 832. The worst defense last year was Mississippi, 666. Got to work in those iron gloves. I just saw this. 2 teams didn't get a complete game, L.A. and Mississippi. L.A. did lead the league with saves, with 60. The fewest saves was New England. They didn't have any opportunities. Well, we talked about them losing in the extra innings. Extra innings and one-run games. They had the least in the league. Only 25 saves. That does hurt. Here's some fielding information. Let me see how I might do if I didn't go to sleep. Okay, good. I might have a half a gig of information here. Tacoma, the most double plays. They turned 174. On-base percentage. Opponent stolen base percentage. The best was Sacramento with a 674. The worst was the Aardvarks at 82%. That's about it. For offense, Motor City Kitties. Most outfielder assists, 46. Threw out a lot of people on those bases. Pass balls, 2 teams had 2. New England only had, their bullpen only had, the catchers only had 2 pass balls, and River City had 2 pass balls. And manager profiles. Who likes to bunt? Who likes to bunt? Russell Rowdies, 148 bunt attempts. We had 113 of those were successful. Aardvarks was right behind us with 143, but they had a better percentage. They had 119 successful bunts. Squeeze attempts, Motor City, 17 attempts. With the Aardvarks had 13 attempts also, but they had 8 successful. They were 8 for 13. Excuse me, 8 for 13 in the squeeze attempts, and Motor City was 7 for 17. Now, most efficient, and I'll have to give myself a pat in the back. Russell was 7 for 10 attempts in the squeeze. Hit and runs. We don't hit and run a lot. Our team, the Rowdies, but a team that does, or did last year, was the Jerusalem Wisemen. They tried to hit and run 68 times. 27 of those were for hits. 55 of them went for the advance the runner. So that means their efficiency, only only six runners didn't advance with the hit and run for Jerusalem, which is darn good. Tacoma stole only 55 bases, which is one of the lowest. I'm looking here. Well, not the lowest, but one of the lowest, probably the lower third. But they made it 86% of the time. They were successful. We said earlier that LA had 210, which led the league. And they got caught 59 times, 78%. The team with the worst success rate was Fenway, 60%. They made 64 stolen bases, but they were caught 42 times. Okay, so that's it for team stuff. And I only got 2 more pages to go. I'll make sure I didn't fall asleep yet. Nope. This is the middle of the day for me, so I don't have any coffee, and it's too early for a beer. So I don't know what I should have to wet my mouth here, but if I end this quicker than I think, I have to go mow the lawn. I'll have that beer then. Best batting average individual leaders we're doing here: Sammy Sosa, 368 for Florida. Most hits was 247, Suzuki for the Aardvarks. You've seen all the writing I did for Bonds, leading the league, broken a lot of records. He had 196 runs scored. Doubles, Todd Helton and Jason Giambi, both for the Saints, 59 and 53 consecutively. That's why they led the league in doubles. St. Paul's McLemore, he led the league with 13 triples, closely followed behind by Roberto Alomar's 12. I mentioned in an earlier video, Sosa was on fire for the home runs. He finished the season with 70, but Bonds had 82. They both had the exact number, of RBI. Sosa and Bonds each had knocked in 160. I'm not going to say anything else about Bonds. Don't see a lot of other stuff. Nothing else sticking out here. I did mention that Steve Finley. He was really the only qualifying fielder that had a perfect fielding percentage. Shutouts. Randy Johnson, Andy Pettitte, 4 shutouts each. No hitters this season. That happens. So they come in bunches. So that's it for the fielding, the end of season stats. I didn't go into any team highlights. If you guys want to send something in on your team, I know the Rowdies were. I expected a lot better. I mean, we were neck and neck with the Rolling Thunder, and if I didn't have that bad September. What was I in September? Let me see something real quick. I don't have that page with me. Yeah, we had. I really thought it was either going to be a tie or I was going to get in there by 1 game. But I had that 3-game shutout to the hands of the Thunder that kind of put me out of it, and I knew it was going to be tough to catch up. But the Rowdies were a middle of the road team. They finished middle of the road. And when that happens in this league, you're a low draft pick, you're a lower tier draft pick. I mean, I think I got the 12th pick this season, and we made a recent decision that we're going to start getting seller mode or rebuilding mode. We have a good core, but we got to fill in I think teams took advantage of our lefty-heavy lineups. I had some days, especially towards the end of the season, when I had to sit some people, especially a catcher and in the outfield. I had nothing but lefties, and we got to fix that for next season. We'll start that with this draft year, but maybe next season we'll try to mix it up a little more. Okay, well, I hope you enjoyed that little video. We just went over a gig and a quarter, so we'll end that, and I'll see you guys after I'm done mowing the lawn.